Okay, all along in the past 4 years, we've seen the debt go up and up and up and up, the debt of the government. And during that time, we've heard all the debt doomsday people like Peter Schiff and Jim Rogers say that it's going to result in a huge spike in interest rates, that foreigners are not going to want to hold our debt, that inflation is going to blow through the roof. And even as this debt has been going up and up and up, interest rates have been going down and down and down and down, and treasuries have been the #1 best performing asset in the world. And by the way, the dollar has also gone up in that period of time. And now we actually see where investors are willing to pay the Treasury to hold on to debt securities, Treasury securities, as opposed to receiving the interest or getting paid. They're willing to pay negative interest rates. That's negative interest rates for the investor. And they're lining up to do this. And we keep hearing these dire warnings about the debt, yet the fact is everything's happening in just the opposite way that this debt doomsday crowd has been predicting. And the worst part of it all, I think, is when we have high-level policymakers come out and continue to repeat this nonsense like, oh, you know, we better deal with our deficits, otherwise we're going to have trouble, or we better deal with the debt because one day we're going to end up to be like Europe or like Greece, when this is absolutely absurd. And today I was watching some testimony by Ben Bernanke. He was testifying before the House Budget Committee, and he said this. He came right out and he said this, that we better pay attention to these deficits because if we don't, we're going to end up just like Europe. Now, for Bernanke to say something like that is really, really outrageous, because he absolutely knows the distinction between the United States, a currency issuing nation, monopoly issuer of the dollar. All of our debts are denominated in dollars. There's never an inability to pay. And not only that, it's the Federal Reserve itself, Bernanke himself, that sets the rate that the government pays. And everybody knows that by now. They put the rates down to 0, and rates are at 0. They put medium-term rates down below 1%. They're below 1%, and now they're targeting long-term rates. Those rates come down. They target mortgage rates. Those rates come down. Any rate along the term structure is set by the Fed itself. And Bernanke knows this. Yet he goes in front of a congressional committee and says, oh yeah, you know, we better get those deficits in order. Otherwise, the market's going to lose confidence and the rates are going to spike up and we're going to become the next Europe. This is absurdity. This is completely ridiculous. And by the way, it's the height of irresponsibility. Bernanke has become a huge part of the problem we have right now. He is now, should be held personally responsible for at least some of the unemployment, the huge amount of unemployment that we see in this country. Because for him to continuously get up in front of these know-nothing lawmakers, and he's looked at as this the guy who knows all about the monetary system, and they look to him for advice, and they ask him these questions, and he comes out and he just like eats right out of the palms of their hands when he says things like, oh, we better worry about the deficit because if we don't, we're going to have big problems. What a terrible, terrible sort of leadership that is. Really, really awful. And the worst thing about it is that it is such a lie, so disingenuous, because he absolutely knows that we're not going to become the next Greece and we're not going to become the next Europe. But for him to say that is the height of irresponsibility. That's it for now. See you back here again next time. This is Mike Norman signing off. Bye-bye.